Her ID hit the polished tile with a sharp clack that turned heads. Behind the glass, indifference stiffened into suspicion, and the room filled with the quiet that makes people stare but never step in. In the reflection, she saw her own face, composed, contained, uninvited to be believed. She had been here before, in different rooms with different faces, always the same test. But this time, something larger hung in the air. Uptown, a conference room waited with contracts for a $7 billion partnership. People expected a signature. Instead, they were about to hear silence speak louder than any speech. What would you do? Amara Cole built her life on proof. Proof that a first-generation scholarship kid could master balance sheets and boardrooms. Proof that a black woman could lead a global infrastructure firm without apologizing for the space she occupied. Today, proof looked like convenience. A quick stop at a neighborhood branch to verify ID before a wire transfer. Nothing complicated. Nothing that should take more than minutes. The branch felt ordinary. Warm light, absentee plants, a line that scrolled slowly across the tile. She stood in it like anyone else. No assistance. No camera-ready entourage. Just a leather folio tucked under her arm and a mind rehearsing the afternoon's agenda. A final review? Pens uncapped. The kind of deal that would fund clean energy jobs across 3 states. $7 billion. Years of work compressed into signatures. She liked days like this. The ones that looked routine until they weren't. A stability she'd earned, not borrowed. Yet even as she stepped forward to the teller's window, there was a flicker at the edge of her focus. An intuition trained by experience. A glance held just a second too long. A smile that skimmed rather than landed. The soft sound of a boundary about to be tested. Before we continue, if stories like this matter to you, help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Like, comment, and share your thoughts. It means more than you know. Now back to the story. The transaction should have been simple. Present ID, confirm account, authorize the wire. But simplicity often dissolves when assumptions enter the room. The teller's eyes darted to the name on the card, then to Amara's face, then back to the card. The pause stretched. A folder on the counter snapped shut. A small red light blinked on a security camera above the door. The ritual began. Requests that sounded procedural but didn't land that way. Additional verification for reasons that stayed unspoken. Another form, another pause. A whisper over a shoulder that invited a second pair of doubtful eyes. The kind of choreography that turns a counter into a stage and a person into an exhibit. She felt the familiar heat rise in her chest. A careful warmth that had taught her when to push and when to pivot. Then came the moment. The ID tumbled from the teller's grip, skipped off the edge of the counter, and skittered onto the floor. It rested face down near her shoes, a small rectangle reflecting the ceiling lights in a fractured pattern. The room tightened. A child in line widened his eyes. An older man shifted the weight of his briefcase and stared at the floor as if it were suddenly fascinating. Amara did not flinch. She bent, lifted the card, brushed an invisible speck from its surface, and set it back on the counter with quiet precision. Her heartbeat matched the metronome tick of the wall clock. Everything inside her asked for a witness, for a line to be drawn, for a lesson to be taught in real time. And yet, experience offered another option. Collect the data of this moment and decide where it would count most. A manager arrived with the kind of smile that appears only after it's too late. Explanations arrived without ownership. The transaction concluded with the drag of a pen across paper and the stale taste of a victory that didn't feel like one. She walked out past the glass door onto a sidewalk that felt brighter than it should. The noise of the city re-entering her body like breath after a held note. Her phone buzzed with reminders about the afternoon signing. Emails stacked politely. A text from legal marked urgent but not worried. In the reflection of a storefront, she saw herself again. Still composed, still contained, but something had shifted. She had carried incidents like this for years, tucked them into the quiet folders of memory and resolved to outwork their damage. Today, as the sun slid across the concrete and the afternoon rushed forward, she realized a different kind of work was required. The conference room uptown was arranged like certainty. Contracts squared, water glasses aligned, city skyline poured across the windows. Representatives from the partner banks sat in their tailored optimism, ready for photographs and handshakes, ready for the press release that would travel faster than truth. Amara entered without entourage, the leather folio under her arm. The same steady steps she'd used all her life to move through spaces that weren't built for her. She took her seat. Papers rustled in expectation. A pen rested at the top page, waiting for ink to convert potential into permanence. She opened her folio not to sign, but to remove a single sheet. It was crisp, prepared long before that morning's walk to the bank, because leaders carry contingencies the way climbers carry rope. It said what needed to be said in the fewest possible words. She slid the page across the table. The movement made no sound, but it changed the air. I scanned, then stalled. Hands hovered, then lowered. The room, engineered for ceremony, filled with absence instead. No explanation, no speech, no naming of the branch or the teller or the minute ways respect gets measured out and withheld. Just a line in black ink that ended the $7 billion partnership, clean and final. Silence expanded until it became the message itself. She rose, closed the folio, and left the room the way she had entered it. Upright, unhurried, unmistakably clear. Some moments demand a voice. This one demanded an ending. In the days that followed, questions arrived in tidy corporate phrasing. Apologies arrived in careful arrangements of words that had been smoothed by PR hands. Requests for context sought a narrative she had no interest in providing for free. She chose a different path. No press conferences, no vittles for the spectacle. Internally, she wrote to her team about standards that start with dignity. Externally, she instructed legal to document a pattern of incidents across vendors and to build a partner code that rewarded measurable equity, not performative statements. The project did not die with the deal. It shifted. Community lenders and regional institutions stepped forward, not as saviors but as partners willing to put skin in the game and training on the calendar. The timeline stretched, but the foundation strengthened. Employees who had learned to swallow small humiliations saw a new policy take root. Respect as a condition of doing business, not a footnote near the end. At the neighborhood branch, life went on with a little more care, because word travels even when names don't. Somewhere a manager reviewed footage and realized a routine day had cost their institution more than a decade of marketing could repair. Somewhere a young professional watched the story unfold and understood that boundaries can be drawn without raised voices, that sometimes the quiet choice is the sharpest tool. Amara kept moving, not untouched, not invulnerable, but resolved in a way that outlasts noise. When systems refuse to see you, the hardest question is also the simplest. What is the price of your dignity? And what are you willing to walk away from to protect it?